So today we're going to make French onion soup. This ought to be interesting. So one of you wise guys said I should make a cooking video about something. So today we're going to make some French onion soup, and that ought to be pretty interesting. I had ordered some onions with that Food Lion pick up your grocery stuff like everybody's doing out now, and they gave me three 3-pound bags of onions. Now I don't know what I'm going to do with all this because it's just Stacy and I sitting here just like everybody else. So she decided, why don't you make French onion soup? Somebody said make a video. Let's give it a shot. Now, Cutco knife and a cutting board that my dad made with Jim McKinney out of Heine Hider, which I guess was the divider that they used to put in the school bathrooms. It works for me. And I only use free-range, organic, keto-friendly onions. Now I have no idea what the hell that is, but we're just going to use regular onions here and cut them up. So what I do is I always use a serrated knife to cut an onion. Alright guys, we're going to slice up the onions. If you think I'm going to do something stupid like sit there and cut it up with a cutting board and a knife, you're crazy. I've got this KitchenAid mixer that I've had forever, and Stacy got me this attachment thing where you can put different attachments on it to slice stuff. So I've got my vampire repellent right here. We'll put that in, and I'm going to start with onions. And as you can see, well, bam, no tears. Now, you can get the cheap plastic one. It's junk. Look for a vintage one from the 60s. It may be about $100, but she'll tell you I use this thing almost every day. And by the way, it makes great hash browns. Cut. So, next step, you gotta put some butter in here. Now, most times I go up to Lancaster County and buy this stuff from the Amish, and they spend forever on this stuff. Who am I kidding? This is just regular, great value stick of butter. Now we're going to let that melt. Now, Stacy did remind me, I forgot to tell you how many onions. This recipe calls for 4 to 6 servings. So we've got maybe 5 pounds of onions here. It's all sliced up, and they're just plain regular yellow onions. So we're gonna let this stuff melt, and then I'll add the onions, and then we let it chill out for about 45 minutes and reduce to a nice golden brown. All right, now we've got our butter melted, so I guess now I better add the onions and let this stuff simmer for 45 minutes. Now, here's the kicker of this whole thing. You got to keep stirring this. And I'm not going to sit here and videotape me stirring this stuff around. You'll figure it out. I'll show you a little bit. We'll get through this together. And by the way, this bowl here is not a Rachel Ray original. This is something Stacy got at a yard sale for about 25 cents. So as you can see, you stir the onions and get all that butter in there and keep stirring it and keep stirring it. and reduce it till it's about minimal. But the thing is, it says in the recipe, if you hear it sizzle like bacon, you got to turn it down. And I know I've got one big burner here. If I got to turn it down, that means you got to switch it up. You got to play the game a little bit and work with it. I'm not a professional. I just like what I'm doing. All right, guys, I've been stirring this for about 20 minutes, and it is slowly reducing, but if you can see at the bottom of the pan there, it's getting a little brown. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move it to the smaller burner so you don't hear that sizzle pop that they say to look out for. So we'll give this a shot, and I'll come back to you when it's reduced. All right, guys, here's an update on the stirring. It's not quite there yet, but it's getting there. Not like anybody's going anywhere. So we'll give you an update in a little bit. All right, guys, finally got this stuff to reduce and caramelize. If you can take a look, it's starting to stick on the bottom. This really is a good recipe since we're all stuck here and we're not going anywhere. So the next step is to add 3 tablespoons of flour and mix it in. And get it all in there. Now, one of the problems we all have now with cooking, it's substitutions and shortenings and what do I do because I don't have this? Well, I didn't have dry white cooking wine. I don't think I've ever had it in our house. So I looked up using my iPad and found out that vermouth can actually be substituted. So I found a bottle of extra dry vermouth. So now we're going to pour this in, and in a minute we'll add the stock. So you just pour it in, mix it up, and keep rolling with it. All right, so now I gotta add my beef broth. This is just standard, regular, plain old beef broth. I think we got it at Aldi's or Lidl. Give it a good healthy squeeze, get all that out. Sometimes cooking's a little messy. Now, got that in. Check over here. Add some black pepper. I'm kind of a snob for fresh cracked pepper. A little thyme. And use this very sparingly. This is soy sauce. You don't want it to get too salty. Now it's another waiting game. We just let it simmer for 15-20 minutes, and then comes the fun stuff. By the way, one thing I forgot to mention, make sure that you stir this and get all the encrusted onions that caramelize on the bottom of this all nice and loose. That's where all the flavor is. So you get this going. You make sure you break up everything. I mean, look at that. That's just, I mean, that's the way it should look. And we'll check back in on you in a couple of minutes and finish it up. One thing I almost forgot was the bay leaf. Now you got to be very careful to make sure you get the whole bay leaf. That way you drop it in there like this, get it all wet, and that way you can pull it right back out. And we'll see in about 15 minutes. Okay guys, we're rounding third base here. I've got my soup set up. I've got the onions done. I've got everything ready to go. So what I did was I had some marble rye. And I put 2 pieces of it in the broiler. And we're putting that in the bottom here. And you see that. And what we're going to do is I'm going to very carefully put and then you put another layer on top like that. Then we're going to add some more soup. Just like that. Now, since this is, you know, the apocalypse, I couldn't use Gruyere cheese, or however you're supposed to pronounce it. I don't know. If I screwed up, so be it. So what I did was I used some super Swiss that has been sitting in our fridge forever and a day, and it's nice and bitey. So what we do is we'll put this cheese right on top here. Just like this. Oh, you can always add more cheese. Why not? All right, so then, you think we're done? Oh no, you gotta crank up your oven to the fires of hell. Crank it up on broil. And slide this little bad boy in and cook it until it melts. So we'll give it a couple of minutes and eat. All right, guys, let's see if it's done. Well, looks extra frosty. Looks the way it's supposed to. French onion soup. Voila. And that's how you make French onion soup. I'll let you know how it tastes. Enjoy.